And welcome back. All right, in this next area, we're going to create a sitemap for desktop. So what we're going to do is we have LowFlow open here, and we've turned it on because we have Pegasus Pro. We've turned it on in our libraries area. So we've got, Pegasus Design Pro, and then we also want LowFlow Pro, which because we're in the file, we don't need that. But if I create a new file, say new design file, and I'll close LowFlow. Boop, okay, it's closed. Go to assets. I'm going to call this desktop. Sitemap. Boop. All right, good. Yep, over in assets, get rid of that. Click the little libraries icon, and we want to enable LowFlow Pro as a library. What does that mean? Well, now it means that we have all these components at our disposal. So unlike sitting inside the file, if you don't have, Figma Pro, you can just operate inside the file, and you can, export those into a new file when you're done. If you have Figma Pro, you can turn on libraries function, which is really nice. And we're going to be spending a lot of time in two areas. First of all, the stickers, and specifically desktop, since that's the sitemap we're building today, and also flow. So I open this flow area. We have these connectors, these sticky notes, and these round and square pins. So that's what we're going to be spending most of our time with. We're going to do a little bit of auto layout for organization. And so the first decision we really have is, starting any sitemap, what are we working on? What's the style of the site? So in this case, we're going to do an agency that does, a little bit of website design and marketing. And so we're going to think about what a site redesign could mean. The first thing we need in this is, a homepage. So there's several different homepage stickers. There is, this one here that has a hero and some buckets. We have this one that has sort of a triple featurette on the right side. This other one. And then we also have, where's the other one? Oh, if we just drag one of them in. Okay, there it goes. Now we can switch over here as well. So we see, we just search for home. Page. And we'll see we have 5, 4, and 3, 2, 1. So we've got quite a few homepage designs here. We're just going to work with the desktop ones. So we can switch it over to this one. We can also go search for homepage this way. And there we go. So we're going to stick with this guy as the first one. We'll zoom out. All right, great. Now after we have the home page, let's say we're going to have sort of a meet the team page. And for that layout design, we can pick whichever we'd like. In this case, we're going to do kind of a featurette with several team members. And we'll just put that underneath here. And then what we're going to do is have like a bio. Each of the team members. We'll drag that in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hold Option. And we're just going to drag over a couple of times. Say it's a small team, say it's 3 people. And then we're going to lasso all these. We go over here, horizontal spacing, And we'll set that to 70. Maybe a little bit more. Let's try 150. Yeah, that feels about right. Cool. We're getting somewhere. We'll move this one down, snap it, do 3 sets of 5, holding shift up on our up arrow on the keyboard. And what we're doing is we're just trying to make sure that these are all kind of a similar distance away from one another. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and align center there. Perfect. Okay. All right, let's see. What do we want to do next? Let's have a blog. Since we're doing design work and we want to market ourselves, it would probably make sense for us to have a blog. So in this case, we'll go ahead and drag out our blog layout. We'll put that over on the right side. Another thing we might have is a help center. So in that case, I have this nice layout here. Great. And I'm going to have a contact form as well. And that contact form will go to success screen. So we're doing this, we're just thinking vertically, we're breaking out all the different flows. And all right, next we might have a schedule calendar. Somebody wants to book an appointment. So what we're going to do is we're going to build out a little area here where we're going to have our contact form. Cool. Try to, space everything out roughly 150 pixels. So they go to the contact form, they fill out their information, allows them to select, the approximate start day for their project that they want us to work on, and then they reach a completion screen. And maybe if something goes wrong, we'll also add this corner case screen as well. That doesn't want to snap, so what we'll do is we'll just snap it to it, hold shift, do right arrow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should be 150 pixels away from that. And let's see, what else do we need to build this out? We might have live chat as well. All right, so the live chat we're going to add over here because it's going to be kind of its own area. We'll add that into the Help Center. Okay. So if they can't find something on the FAQs, they can chat live with us. Go to the blog, they can read more information there. And I think we will call that good to go. Yeah, I think that's a good start. Obviously, you could add 150 screens to this if you had the time and that was what you wanted to do. But in this case, we want to show just the the beginning use cases for it, and then you could extend it from there. I'm also going to pull this over and allow some area for a little bit of separation. Do this. I'm going to get rid of this blog, and I'm going to replace it with a better blog layout. And I found a nice article page. This would be good. Yeah. Feels better. Cool. Great. All right, so I'm going to move all this over, and then I'm going to put the contact flow. Move this to the other side. Perfect. Now on some of these, they're going to be more shallow, and on other ones, they might go deeper. It just really depends on what you're building in your specific use cases. So, all right, that looks pretty good. I'm going to use the connectors now to connect all these together, and we're going to start with this curved one. It looks rather small, so I'm going to go ahead and hit this constrain proportions just so I can do this proportionally. And we're going to try, say, 400. It gives it a better size, and you can see that the scale on this is good because that you can see the arrows and the circles, right? The pin indicators, and they're not being dwarfed by the stickers. They're holding their own. All right, and what we can do is we can add a double bend if we want something a little more fancy. And we'll go ahead and say that this is coming from this navigation up top here. Okay, great. We're going to just snap that in, pull that down to point at this contact page. That looks about good. And since that worked well there, we're going to go ahead and duplicate that. So I'm just going to hit Command D for duplicate. We can't see it yet, but it's made a copy. Now if we hold Shift and H, that is going to flip it horizontal. It's going to be really handy for us because I know that I can basically have the same position. It's going to be fixed. And we're going to go ahead and pin that to the middle of that item right there. That looks good. Cool. And we're going to go ahead and drag out this other one. This a little smaller. We can also rotate this too. Want to rotate it 90 degrees, we can do that as well. You can also change the endpoint, say pointing different directions, right? Which, when we zero this out, we'll see it's pointing down. We can also make some of these dashed as well. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do the Shift H, Shift V, Shift V. So you do a lot with that. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and connect this to the top of the leftmost screen. And then we'll have it pointing to one of these articles here. What we notice is I can squish these connectors, but it doesn't adjust the size of the pins. So the pins don't get, distorted at all, which does happen with, some low fidelity solutions. You can't move them around. They're sort of stationary. You can do them once, and that works pretty well, but then you're kind of stuck if you need to go back and make changes. There's really not anything you can do, which is obviously very problematic. Okay, so we've got three of our flows connected. Now this one, I don't really love it for this use case, so I'm going to go ahead and switch it out with this angled connector. And I'm going to change this to say it points to the bottom left. Perfect for what we want. I'm going to hold Shift and just resize this a bit and have it point down at this second to left sticker. Good. And then I'm just going to hold Shift and drag this over to the second item. And as you see, you might think, wow, this is a lot of different items here, but they each have their purpose, and you never really know what you need specifically until you get in to start working on these. You can also do a custom angle as well. If you go to the edge, you'll see you get this kind of rotate symbol, and you can click down and drag to adjust that as well if you need to tune these to point at a specific spot in your mockups. Okay, that looks about right. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and we'll call that good enough. Cool. All right, let's connect these and meet our team screens real fast. So this one I'm going to say endpoints down, and I'm going to say dash because it's like a secondary navigation. And in this case, I obviously could have, just for the heck of it, I'll add another one. So if I hold Tab and Shift, it will duplicate, but it will also, the Shift means it's going to drag in a straight line, which really helps you if you want to keep everything lined up nicely. I personally enjoy to do. All right. And at this point, it's pretty much just dialing into your specific needs. Sometimes it's easier just to go in and do a manual adjustment. Just hold the Shift key and adjust that way as well. All right, we're going to this points down, Shift H to flip it over, and snap it into this team member, and then we'll go ahead and make some other adjustments. The great thing about working with Figma is it's so good at snapping in to the positions of other layers. It's really easy to get things lined up properly. For instance, like I saw that little red indicator letting me know that this is at the same vertical position as the last one. What do I need to do? I need to make this dash as well, so I just hit that toggle. Nice and simple. Do I want to double bend? In this case, yeah, double bend is kind of nice. Go ahead and add it. Okay. And I'm going to hit that Command D, which is going to duplicate it in place. Then I'm going to hold Shift and do H, do a horizontal flip. And then we're going to shift this over into place. And if I had to draw out all of these designs by hand and draw these shapes and position everything, this could take easily twice to 5 times as long as what I'm doing, just dragging these pre-made symbols into place. The other great thing is your components. So if you decide that you want to make changes to them, you're fully empowered to do so, and you have full flexibility, which is the really awesome thing about working with Figma as a tool. All right, so when they select, submit, and continue, it's going to drop them into this next screen. And from there, Once the date is selected and continue enables, that will move them to the next step. In this case, it's going to lead to a decision tree. And we're going to adjust this a little bit to show what that could look like. So we're going to snap that to the center, and then we're going to pull this down a little bit. And we're going to drag in the square pin component, and we're going to switch it to from a word to a diamond. And that's basically going to be our decision point. So our business logic will decide whether this kind of passes or fails. Okay. Flip that around. Okay, good. And then we're going to two of these possible selections. I'm going to have them be dashed. Cool. I think in this case, I actually think that this double bend might be better. Cool. Yeah, that looks good. Make that dashed as well. Down a bit. Yeah, it's starting to feel a little better. Okay, I'm going to Command D to duplicate, Shift H again, flip it. Connect it here as well. Cool. All right, we can see our sitemap is starting to take shape. We have a little bit more connecting to do, but just some basic work here. I'm going to borrow this. Now, if I hold Shift, I can drag with my mouse. You see how it drags it exactly horizontally on a plane? That's exactly what I want. So I'm going to add this. I'm going to add, say there's a link over here on this sidebar to move into the chat. So make that like the second to last option on here. And that'll be perfect. And then I'm also going to move one of these featured posts. And that's going to link into the actual article as well. And that'll be good to go. Of course, then I'll center this too. All right. Do we have everything connected? Let's see. This goes to this, and then here. This goes to this, and then here. Nope, we missed one. That's very important. And we're going to fix that next. So we're going to grab our straight connector. Point down. And it's on the primary navigation, so we'll keep it solid. have that connect to our Meet the Team page. Now, you might be wondering, okay, this looks great, but how does anybody know what these specific flows are and what they mean? And that's a great question. So we're going to do a couple things to help illustrate that. One is these circular pins we're going to add to our decision matrix, and we're going to have our success and failure indicators. So this one, we're going to move to the error state. Perfect. And we'll pull this in as well. All right, that looks good. Now the other thing is we might want one to indicate that it's an area for providing help. So I'm holding Option and I just drag out another instance of that over to our Help Center, and we're going to change that into the info state. And there we go. That's our information flow. And let's see if there's any other ones that would be helpful. Time. Let's see. I don't think we have a good example of time, but you could obviously build one. For example, say you schedule a calendar date with a customer, and then you could put time and you could put a little label saying, okay, 6 days passes, the scheduled appointment day has come, and then you continue the flow with the interaction with the customer. This would just be one example that you could use. Also, we can use these square pins to denote what the pages are themselves. So for this one, we can obviously say this is the home page, and we can put this up above. Perfect. And then we can label the other pages too. And we don't have to use this filled state as well. We can use this line or this subtle or even wireframe state as well. And we can also choose an icon. So that's kind of interesting because we have over 300 icons. And so you could use an icon that supports your label. In this case, this is the contact form. Great. Have our blog. We don't have to always center the labels too. If we have a connector that's in the way, we can place it in a different spot that's more convenient. For example, over on the left in this case. All right. And you might need to space things out when you get to labeling as well. You can also do that beforehand to save some time. So in this case, I'm going to grab all my connectors, just holding Shift, clicking all of them, and then I can drag them down at one time, which is sort of fun. Just need to resize a couple of these here as well. Great. Okay. Now I'm going to continue to add labels to several of these. You just snap to the top, I can hold shift and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I know that my labels are all going to be in exactly the right spot. It's better, live chat. Great. All right, we've got our help center, our frequently asked questions. Oh, that's not the slide I want to do it on. Cool. You don't always have to put it on the top or the bottom. You can overlay the page as well. It's easier. Need the team. And success. Error. So the calendar. Okay. We have our team members. I'm just going to Command D to duplicate that. Pull it over, snap it. And once more. Cool. we have all of our pages labeled now, which is great. The last thing we might want to use is some of these sticky notes. So we can provide feedback like yeah, so we're just going to say that we're going to talk to the database team, make sure that we're getting proper status codes back so that we can show this team on Monday, and we can change the color as well, come with different colors, different instances. So we got yellow, cyan, magenta, I think in this case, purple, which looks good too. Go ahead and stick with the cyan. All right, so we're going to put that down here. I'll also snap that nicely. These are responsive, so if you have more to say, it'll continue to grow. There's no manual limit. There's no manual resizing that you have to do, which is great. All right, so we've got our flow pretty much good to go. I'm going to show a quick trick where you can select everything by just clicking down and dragging a lasso. And then I'm going to hold Shift on my keyboard and hit the A key, A like Apple, so Shift A, smash that. And oh, before we do that, I'm sorry, let's go ahead and group it. So we hit Shift G to group. Cool. If we go to our layers, we should see that all of our objects in a group. So I'm sorry, Command G for group. There we go. Say Sitemap. And then if we hold Shift A, no, that's still going to try to move things around, so we don't want to do that. What we can do is go to the frame symbol. We can just drag a background around our entire sitemap. And there we go. And we have a nice background to play around with. And if we click our sitemap, we can then click the center vertical and center horizontal buttons. And we know that that's perfectly centered, which is nice to know. We can also click our frame and we can name that. So I'll call this sitemap Regency. And then we'll do desktop because this is the desktop version. Great, we've named our frame, and then we can also round the edges a little bit if we want to, so like 64 pixels. And we can also change the color, so we can change the fill. Now, within LowFlow, it comes with a nice set of accessibly tested palettes, which is great. In this case, we're going to go ahead and go with just the second from the darkest, and we'll see that looks really nice. We can also go all the way black if we want to. Yep, I think that looks even better. And then lastly, we can provide our label. So in this case, we'll call it Agency Sitemap Desktop. And we'll select that. We'll make something really, really big. We'll say Poppins 200 font. And we're going to set this to auto. And we're going to do left align. And we're going to choose this middle option here in Figma, which is auto height. And then we'll drag it into the upper left-hand corner, which happens to be free. And we'll select our fill colors, and we'll go ahead and go with the off-white color. Cool. And then we can grab our lower selection, and instead of bold, We can make that light. Cool. All right. That's starting to look pretty good. I think this would be something you could hand off and be proud of. And this is something that, you know, could legitimately take several days if you were trying to create each and every element in these stickers. But in this case, it took, you know, around 40 minutes. And that was with me explaining everything and also kind of making up the concept as I went along. So I'm sure if you had all your requirements charted out, this would probably be much faster. So I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you enjoy this application. Continue to provide us feedback, and we, the team, will continue to think about implementing improvements. Take care and have a great one.